Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next speaker. Dr. Alex is one of Manhattan's leading cosmetic dentists, offering patients smile mapping, smile makeovers, and the highest level of complete dental services. Dr. Alexander Rubinov graduated from Columbia University College of Dental Medicine with distinction, where he founded the aesthetics group and served as president of ASDA. During his residency, he managed complex cases, implant placement, and full mouth rehabilitation. Dr. Alex helps top celebrities, athletes, models, and influencers achieve their perfect smile. So help me welcome Dr. Alex.
Hello, hello. This is great. I haven't spoken to the ASDA crew in a little while, but I'm really happy to be here. I am, like you said, I'm Dr. Alex. I'm a third generation dentist. I went to Columbia Dental School. I worked for the Appa Rosenthal Group for 3 years. And then I rented a chair for 3 years. And now, just a few months ago, I started my own office at Rockefeller Center. So why am I speaking to you about brand? Because it's something that takes time to develop and hone. I'm 6 years out of dental school, and I just now have the confidence in my brand to start my own practice. So what is brand and what is branding? By the way, I just want you guys to kind of get an idea. I'm going to talk, but I really want engagement. I usually when I give lectures, I have a very interactive style. So feel free to write questions. And then I think at the end of my little talk, we'll go ahead and bring it all together with questions. So branding is what companies stand for, right? What is branding? Branding is what companies stand for. It's reflected in how a company acts, how it serves people, the values that the company shares, and how the company projects these values. A personal brand is really similar to a professional brand. It's who you are, what you stand for, the values you embrace, and how you express those values. For me, my personal and professional brand are the same. My brand is Dr. Alex NYC. So the brand of my practice is and should be consistent with my personal brand. I'm going to share the framework of how I built my brand. I'm going to give you 6 steps and provide some personal examples for each steps. In some ways, this may sound unique to me and my path, but I believe you'll be able to extrapolate many points that can apply to your personal and professional journey. But first, I want to share an analogy to convey what I think is most important when building a brand, and then we'll get started. So picture this scenario. You're at a party and you interrupt somebody's conversation to tell them that they should come to see you in your dental office because you're the top dentist and you went to XYZ school and you have XYZ credentials. How do you think that's going to go? You think people are going to bite? I don't think so. I think what's going to happen is they're going to think you're rude and will likely avoid you for the rest of the night. But when you think about how companies try to brand themselves in this day and age, that's exactly what they do. They interrupt our YouTube videos, our television shows, our news, and our Instagram feeds to tell us how great they are and asking us to do things for them. And that sometimes we find it terribly annoying, and sometimes we're able to tolerate it. What's the difference? Having a relationship with that brand is precisely the difference. Relationships, essentially feeling connected, are the lifeblood of brands. Brands with strongest relationships are the ones that prosper and persevere. Think about the brands that you love and your relationships with them. If you like them, you're likely to be okay spending money on their products and their services. You'll take their phone calls, speak positively of them, recommend them. You'll do that because you feel like you have a good relationship with them and that you're part of their story. Branding is sharing and telling your story. Brands are with the strongest relationships don't just brag about themselves and tell people to use them. Instead, they share from their heart about what matters most to them. Building a brand is connecting with people and inviting them to be part of your story. Think about that. So where do we start? We have to know your story. There's 4 steps to building your story, and then 2 steps to getting that story out there. So step 1 is, who are you? What are your strengths? Step 2 is, what motivates you? What's your reason for existing? Step 3 is, what are your values and beliefs? Step 4 is, what do you want to be known for? So let's get started with step 1. Figure out who you are as a person or as a company. What are your strengths? For me, I was born to be a dentist. Quite literally, like I said earlier, I'm a 3rd-generation dentist. My grandmother, my grandfather, my uncle, my father was a top dentist in Russia before coming to America and having to get his license all over again in New York City. I watched that with admiration and pride and knew I wanted to follow in their footsteps. Basically, it's in my DNA. Second, I know I'm someone who loves people. I grew up in the waiting room chatting with patients and getting to know them. For me and my brother, my dad used to bring us to the office, and my brother would sit in his private office, read books all day, and I would run around the office saying hello to everybody. He's a PhD anthropologist, and I'm a dentist. What does that mean for my brand? I'm the dentist that you're friends with. I'm warm, I'm caring, and I make patients feel comfortable. This is the first thing that my patients write reviews and testimonials about. Third, I'm artistic and have an artistic eye. I love working with my hands. I took ceramics in college very seriously and even had a fine arts concentration. That means when I was figuring out my dental focus, I knew I wanted to work with my hands and actually create and sculpt smile. This piece comes very naturally to me. What motivates you? What is your reason for existing as a company or professionally? What is your reason for going into dentistry or your specific field? Remember, we're answering these questions to define your story so we can share our story and clients can connect with our story. One tip here is, because I said we're trying to get people to connect with you, typically people connect with companies that they have aspirational missions. You rarely hear a company rallying around the brand that is going for market domination or profitability. You see people rallying around brands they believe can make a difference, not the ones that are selfish. So yes, what makes your brand special is the why you do what you do. For me, I like what I do because I like transforming people's lives. We've all struggled with confidence, but at least I can walk into a room and fake it with a smile if I need to. We're all dentists or training to be, and we know the insecurities that come along with not feeling comfortable opening your mouth. That's what enables me to do what I do. What else motivates me? Using my hands. Being able to leverage my passion for ceramics and art to create an almost instantly gratifying transformation for patients. I'm motivated by happy patients who get results they didn't even think were possible. That's such a gratifying feeling for me, and that's what is the adrenaline that keeps me going, honestly. What are your values and beliefs? What are the values of your customers or patients? What brands do most is work with those 2 steps of values that are aligned. Just like we connect with people who share our beliefs, people connect with brands who share their beliefs. But that has to be authentic. I'll give you an example for values, and hopefully you'll see the connection to branding. I value true connection. and treating every person I meet exactly the same way, with respect. Whether you're a billionaire or not, everyone deserves my time. For example, during quarantine, I spent 3 months at home, not being able to go into the office. So what did I do? I decided to give virtual consultations for free. So anyone that reached out, whether it was on my social media, through my email, on my website, and they wanted to learn more about their smile, I offered virtual consultations. I probably did, I don't know, 60, 70 virtual consults. I knew not every single one of them was going to translate into a smile makeover, but I knew that I could help people understand, and I was authentic because I truly enjoyed doing it. I was also at home sitting, watching masterclass, learning from Thomas Keller how to cook. So in the other spare free time, I would do virtual consults. And obviously some of that translated into actual patients that once we opened up in June, we hit the ground running. So things like this that you do in your life, you don't necessarily know why it's going to benefit you, but you just do it because you actually believe in it and you enjoy doing it. So let's think about online patient reviews, because we know that's a reflection of a doctor's brand. Patients always appreciate and rate highly the doctors that take their time with them, that don't seem operational. People love bedside manners. In most cases with dentistry, as long as a patient isn't in pain, they don't actually know the quality of work you're doing or delivering. What they do know is how you make them feel. If you choose to focus in cosmetics like me, they're able to actually visualize and see the quality of your work, and they critique every little millimeter. Another reason why I focused on my specialty aligns with my values. I value doing things correctly, not quickly. I don't believe in taking shortcuts. For example, in dental school, when we first learned to use a mirror and in pre-clinic, and the professors would all turn around, half of my classmates would go like this, start drilling, and then within a few hours, if not sooner, go to the professor, say I finished, and run out of pre-clinic. What did I do? I spent till 6, 7, 9 o'clock at night in that pre-clinic, learning how to use that mirror, understanding how to drill, regardless of how hard it was. For me, I wanted to instill that from the beginning, I practice good habits, because good habits build on top of better habits. So how does that translate to my brand and my customer values? Patients want good dentistry done right. They want to trust their doctors is giving them the best work. They don't want sloppy work, because that's the quality of work that I personally want to deliver in New York City to the highest clientele. So next. What do you want to know? What do you want to be known for? I mean, answering this question helps you define your personal and professional roadmap. The delta between your current state and what you want your legacy to be, that becomes your roadmap. I mentioned earlier that doing smile makeovers are my favorite part of my job. Smile transformations with veneers or implants plays to my strengths, my dentist and my artistic backgrounds, as well as obviously my passion. Am I a general dentist too? Do I do fillings? Of course, but I don't want to be known for filling cavities. I want to be known for veneers, cosmetics, smile makeovers. I want to be considered one of New York City's top cosmetic dentists. And yes, I'm still working on that. I said knowing what you want to be known for helps you craft your plan. For me, knowing I wanted to be known for cosmetics led me on a path even before dental school. I had the opportunity to go to Rutgers, which is my state school, or Columbia in New York City. I said to myself, and I spoke to my family, and I said, what I really want to do is I want to practice in New York City and do cosmetics. So I did exactly that. I went to Columbia. I started, I was vice president of organization. I was the president of the American Student Dental Association chapter there. And then at the end of third year, one of my mentors said to me, Alex, you're always going to NYU to the aesthetics club. I go, yeah, I love learning because they have amazing lecturers. So she goes, you're going to start one, right? I said, Dr. Mirsky, isn't this the time when like you just apply to residency, you finish all of your requirements, you're done doing your extracurriculars? And she said to me, Alex, if you don't start it now, I don't know who will. So I thought about that. And probably the next day I said, Dr. Mirsky, I'm going to start the aesthetics club at Columbia. So I started planning and building different activities. And one of the things that I did was invite the 5 top cosmetic dentists in New York City to lecture at Columbia. That's how I met Dr. Appa. So before I even started working with him, I built that relationship 3 years prior. I had 3rd year dental school, 4th year dental school, residency, and midway through residency, I was offered a position in his practice. These are all things I was doing out of passion. But did that help me build my brand and help me build my network? Yes, of course. But you can't just force it. You have to do it because this is what you actually enjoy doing. I'll give you another example of what I want to be known for and how that fits into my brand. I believe that beauty and perfection are not synonymous. You know, when I was a ceramics concentration minor in college, my professor used to always say, I would say, hey, Professor Shalev, what do you think of this piece? It's perfect, right? He'd look at me and say, Alex, are you going for perfection or are you going for beauty? And I would ask him the same question over and over and over again. Eventually it clicked to me that something doesn't have to be perfect in order to be beautiful. I'm very open about this with my patients. I tell them, listen, if you're looking for that fake white chocolatey smile, I'm not your guy. This isn't my look. Those aren't my standards. So I align well with patients who value naturally looking, virtually undetectable enhancements. All right, we answered the 4 main questions that help you craft your story. All right, slide's not going. Here we go. So once you feel that you're confidently able to answer these 4 questions, you now know who you are. You know what motivates you, you know your values, and you know what you want to be known for. You've defined what you want your brand to be. You can now start writing your story. There's 2 things that have to happen next to them in parallel. You need to put actions to this because a brand is more than just tell, it's show. Your actions need to reflect your values and your plan. What I mean by actions, like when I start the cosmetics club, like when I do a smile makeover for a patient who can't afford the dentistry because that's what my values are. And that's professionally rewarding to me. That's step A. Step B is networking. Now that you've put action behind your words on your brand, you're walking the walk and not just talking the talk. So you can go out and network. Who do you network with? Professionals in your field, meet other doctors who share the same values, connect with your patients on genuine and deeper levels, and share your story. That's the word of mouth and grassroots piece of building the brand. Talking about relationships with oral surgeons and, there's a lot of doctors out there. You can refer to somebody that focuses just on money and they just want to make the most amount of money and then retire, right? If that's the person that you are and that's the kind of individual that you want to surround yourself with, that's great. Those people exist. But if you know that you're performing the highest quality work, you want to surround yourself with the same exact specialists, your endodontists, your oral surgeons, your plastic surgeons, right? So, because for me, it's actually the experience that makes a difference and the results. So those are the kind of individuals that I connect with, my peers in the field who have similar values. The things that happen with me is I connect with my patients. For example, Devin, who you see right here in the photo, smiling. came to me because he connected with my story and my brand. He came to me saying, I think I'm here for bleaching. I want to whiten my teeth. He's got a big following on social. And I said, Devin, bleaching is not going to get you where you want to be. So I showed him what a smile makeover really would look like on him and in general. And we did a full smile makeover. He absolutely loved it. We chose the color. We did exactly what he wanted. And it really made me feel good that I was able to do what I did. So then I learned more about him and felt the mutual connection. This patient, Devin, had similar values and similar type of brand: self-improvement, confidence, helping people feel good about themselves, and most importantly, health. So he invited me one day and said, Alex, I want you to start training with me at this gym that I just started at. And I was like, what is it? And it was this elite gym called Performance House in New York City. I talked to my family, my wife at the time, and I was like, guys, so the membership, there's a fee. Every time you go to the gym, you have to train with a personal trainer. There's a fee. But I looked at it and I thought to myself, I'm not a golfer. I don't go to country clubs, but this is a good place for me to meet and network with individuals and people in an authentic way, right? Like I actually enjoyed going to that gym, training and meeting his other clients working out, talking about health and wellness. And what happened? Half of the gym ended up becoming my patients. It was genuine and authentic. It wasn't, I wasn't going after that. It just happened to be that when you do things because you love what you do, it just starts to flow. And lastly, the part that you've probably been expecting is step 6, building an online presence that reflects and supports your story. I have a team that helps me with all of my operational stuff: marketing, SEO, social media, etc. But I feel very strongly that whatever content we share reflects the brand and values that we have. Patient testimonials, results, educating the public, sharing pictures of my cases, sharing testimonials that affirm my purpose. These are all things that I want to share to the public because I want my brand to continue to grow from an authentic and honest standpoint. I mentioned values earlier. And the importance of constantly expressing those values in your actions, and of course, with your actual marketing. Some of this comes naturally, but I've made a lot of mistakes and learned along the way. For example, this might sound silly, but my logo, when I first started, I had a graphic designer make it that I thought looked cool. It had an R, a D, the name Alex. I was like, this is cool, this is different. Like, I didn't want to just have my name or a company that I developed. I wanted a Dr. Alex brand because I wanted to be easy and I wanted to be simple, just to flow off the tongue, right? Dr. Alex, who do you go to? Not Rubinov, what's his name? It's easy, Dr. Alex. So I created this logo. I put it everywhere: stickers, sweatshirts, water bottles, chapstick, you name it. I then had a patient who's a branding consultant. He does branding and marketing for much bigger brands than dish dentists. I'm talking about Ciroc, Louis Vuitton, Adidas, Fendi, you name it. I asked him to take a look at my logo and tell me what he thinks. Before he responded, he asked me, what makes a beautiful smile? I shared some of my smile makeovers. I showed him how I obsess over the balance, over colors, over proportions. He then asked me how I wanted people to feel when they came to my office. I restated my values and wanted patients to feel welcome and comfortable. That to me is what I wanted my brand to express. And then he rocked my world. He said my logo didn't reflect any of that. The colors were unwelcoming. The letters were unbalanced. He said the lowercase d and the uppercase R is a bit strange. The A is crooked. If you're making beautiful straight teeth, how can you have a crooked A? So he drew all of these circles. He rebalanced this concept of what I wanted it to just be a simple Dr. Alex, but he made it flow really well. I share all of this again, not because I want you to copy my logo, but because consistency is key. When it comes to branding and carrying your story through, it's really important. So I've done a lot of talking about branding, but I think now is a good time to open up questions, let you guys kind of share what you want to share with me, and let me take it a little bit further as to how I can help you develop and maybe build a brand that you didn't even know you were starting to build.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Rubinov. Our first question is, at what point did you start to put in a lot of effort and energy into the branding, and when did you start your Instagram page?
So, it's funny because I'm doing a small makeover on somebody at the end of this month. And he is the fiance of a girl I went to college with. So I didn't even know that I started branding my Dr. Alex brand way before dental school. I believe that all of your actions, like I said earlier, how you treat people, who you interact with, where you interact with them, that is all about building your brand. So I joined Dr. Appa's office and I immediately started my Instagram page. I didn't know what I was going to post. I had a friend that was in PR and she's like, oh, you got to start this. Here's what your Instagram page is. I'm like, what do I put on there? And she's like, oh, you do like take a photo of this. It's really a learn in progress. And I started my page, I guess, in 2015 by myself, just posting a few things about my life. But now I'm starting to realize that people want to hear and see different parts of your life. They want to see, and you have to, here's the interesting thing. You can share with the public what you want them to know about you, right? So some people really love showing off their fancy things, their fancy cars, their houses, their restaurants. For me, that's not really what I believe in. I don't need people to see nice things so they think that I create beautiful smiles. For me, what I want to share is the fact that I love what I do, and I want people to consistently remember the Dr. Alex brand with really high, good quality dentistry.
Great. Thank you so much. If you don't mind, Dr. Rubinov, we would like for you to stop sharing your screen so that we can kind of have all of the gallery of participants open.
Yeah, of course. Sorry.
That way we can see one another. Okay, so I guess the next question is, if you want to start off your career as an employee in a practice, how can you start to build your own brand as an associate?
Oh, awesome question. You have to establish those guidelines from the beginning, right? So you don't have to do anything actually. So this is when I have people that I mentor, this is how I advise them. I say, you have to be able to, you ask the person, if I bring in that client, they are going to be considered my client, right? So versus if you're an associate somewhere, you treating that offices and that practice's patient, you're able to then differentiate the two. And what I mean by that is, if you do have a non-compete or a non-solicitation, you can then differentiate that. So you slowly start to build your name and your brand, and the quality of the work that you do. And then people will just essentially, because of what you do, they will follow you. That's really what I think as an associate you need to think. And then honestly, there's the partnership track. If you believe in the practice that you're in, you should just try to always do the absolute best, follow the rules of the game that they play. And if you believe in it, then you continue on that path. And if you don't, you have to make sure that you pivot yourself and you position yourself in a way that allows you to essentially take the next step. you know?
Awesome. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So the
Yeah,
next one, I got a direct message that is asking if you have a camera that you would recommend for smile photography.
camera. Yeah. I use a SLR. I either use a Nikon um, D7200 with dual flashers that I forgot exactly what the dual flasher is. It's also Nikon, but I went to PhotoMed. They have the brackets. It's called PhotoMed. They do, I think they're exclusively for dentists, and they are so helpful. They've been in the field for an enormous amount of time. For cosmetic dentistry, I think you need 2 flashers. I think for surgery, you need 1 flash in the middle, which will really just have an enormous amount of exposure. When you're doing cosmetics, you need 2 so that you have bouncers and you have sort of the light reflecting from different angles so that you can actually see a lot more clarity rather than, you know, the tissue and the bone and all of that with surgery. So I think I don't have a picture on this computer of it, but if you feel free to just go on my website, shoot me an email. I'm happy to send a picture of my setup for you. But I use Nikon and I use Canon. I think those 2 are really the best. And the most important thing is the macro lens. So you need to have a 100 millimeter 105 macro lens. So it's a DSLR with a 105 macro lens and then dual flashers.
Perfect. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Next question is, how do you market yourself to celebrities, influencers, and models, things like that? Do you reach out to them in any sense, or do they naturally come across your page?
Yeah, it's a great question. Um, I used to say it was, you know, when the world allowed us to go different places, you have to be run in different circles. So, you know, go to different restaurants, this and that, but now it's a little bit harder. So the way that I sort of developed it and built it is different friends in different industries. So I had a really good friend of mine that is an agent at a modeling agency. So then he would bring me in and introduce me to the rest of the agents so that they knew that they would all refer their models to me for work. And so with influencers, it works a little bit differently, right? You have to, it's a give and take. You have to know what they're looking for in exchange for exposure. So you have to have budgets, right? You have to figure out what is the value. Like if this individual has a strong following, can you give them a free bleaching? And the answer is you have to figure it out for yourself. So for me, you know, sometimes I play that game with them and I'm able to get new influencers into the office and in exchange for some dentistry. And sometimes you don't have to. So there's a lot of the agents from the modeling and the celebrities who work in WME or CAA. They're like, listen, this client needs a small makeover before they go on this show or something like that. So these kind of things happen all the time. And then really it's word of mouth. As you start doing more and more and more of this, it grows. And it, you know, they say that initially you start building your reputation and then your reputation starts working for yourself. And so it's really weird, but 6 years out, I'm starting to see this, that I have a client that's flying in from Los Angeles, sorry, from London, because she was referred by a friend, right? And so it's just, for me, I always dreamt about having this kind of exposure and being able to do this thing, but I didn't know the formula. There's no one formula to doing it, right? It's consistently producing amazing work, and hopefully the people that you're doing it for have the same understanding that you love what you do and they want to share it with their friends and family. So it's a combination of working at trying to generate exposure, and then once you've generated the level of exposure that you hope for and you're continuing to always strive for, it starts working for you.
Great, thank you. Another question that came up is, at what point are you able to kind of call yourself a cosmetic dentist? Is there a certain level of, I guess, comfort doing certain procedures, and that's the point that you call yourself a cosmetic dentist? Can you kind of give us your insight on that?
Right. So there's no specialty, right? It's not like I specialize in cosmetics, because it's not. There's ortho specialty, there's oral surgery, there's peds, there's endo. There isn't a specialty for cosmetics. So the truth of the matter is there's a lot of doctors out there that call themselves cosmetic dentists. Why? Mainly because it's probably quite lucrative to do high-end cosmetic dentistry. But the point that I believe that you really should call yourself a cosmetic dentist is when you're extremely confident in being able to execute at the highest level possible. And I was at a lecture once, and it was actually a surgery lecture. I do a lot of surgery as well. I just I happen to not build my brand off of that. But like Dr. Chen talked about earlier, he went to Bronx VA for his residency. I too went to the Bronx VA for my residency and did over 100 implants in residency over the course of 1 year. So I took a lot of courses on surgery, and I was in this course once by Dr. Salama, and he said to me, when you start getting really good at something, your assistant's going to start falling asleep because it's repetitive, and he or she constantly see the same exact thing. And my assistant that's been with me for a few years turned to me last month, and she's like, you remember, you were telling me this when you went to this lecture once? She's like, I'm starting to get bored and fall asleep while you're delivering veneers, because it becomes so repetitive. To learn the basics is so challenging, but once you really get good at it and know how to deal, the most important thing is knowing how to deal with the complications. That, I believe, is where you can be comfortable in saying you're good at XYZ. Because doing something and having the outcome nice is great. But if something doesn't come out nice, or in the middle there's a hiccup, there's blood somewhere, or the margin isn't where it needs to be, or the tooth underneath starts bleeding through the color of it, what do you need to do? You need to know how to react to these different things, and continuing education and mentorship is truly the most important thing. For me, I'm blessed and honored that I had the opportunity to work in Rosenthal and Appa's office for 3 years. As hard as it was, as challenging as it was to deal with those personalities, they trained me to do and execute at the highest level possible. So I think that mentorship is really, really important, and education.
Great, thank you for that. Another question is, how do you balance, not getting too caught up in the social media of it all? I feel like everything is turning virtual, and a lot of times, you can't help but compare yourself to other professionals and things like that. So for dental students who are maybe looking to start a social media handle for their professional life, do you have any advice on that?
You definitely have to go out there and look for inspiration, right? You have to look at different accounts and see what people are doing and try to pave your own road. That is sort of what I outlined earlier. Your values, who you want to be known for, how you want to get to where you are. That's how you start building your social media, right? Like, if you want to be known for doing the best rubber dam restorations, there's a ton of docs that just have pages on every restoration is done under a rubber dam with the most isolated area and the margins and et cetera, et cetera. It's really what drives you, right? Like how you enjoy, what you enjoy doing and what you want the public to know, and how to not fall into that social media world of comparison. It's a very tough question. You have to be resilient. You have to believe in yourself. And you have to know that what everybody else out there is showing is they're trying to show the best of them. They're not showing you the hard day that they're having. They're not showing you the case that didn't go so well. They're not showing you that team member that was upset when you criticized them, or when you gave them feedback about how you want them to assist you, or how you want that person to pick up the phone, right? All of this, it's you trying to, social media, marketing, branding is how you want the world to see you, right? And what I'm seeing a lot of right now in social media is these influencers are starting to show their authenticity, right? About mental health, about weight gain, about this individual used Facetune to make their eyes and nose look better. This one, Kim Kardashian is showing her body, and then there's people exposing them and saying that's all photoshopped, right? Like, everybody is trying to show the best version of them on the social media platforms. But I really think that you have to just stay authentic and true to yourself, and try not to fall into that little game, because you can really, just have to stay strong.
Great, thank you. So another question that we have here is, because cosmetic dentistry relies a lot on before and after pictures, what is your process in the office in terms of getting consent from all of your patients in regards to reposting their cases on your social media?
Yeah. I have with my new patient form, there is a sheet that says photos, your documentation and photos will be used for social media purposes. And if they opt out of it, then you can't use it, right? So some people say, oh, you can use my smile and my teeth and etc. Some of my patients say, you can't even use my teeth. Like, I have individuals that are, think they're celebrities or are celebrities, and they're like, you can't ever show anybody my case. You can't ever tell anybody that I have porcelain veneers. So you really have to gauge the individual that you're with. And you can't ever post somebody's face if you didn't get permission. So playing by those rules is extremely important, because you have to make sure that you're not violating HIPAA.
Great. So another question is a little bit personal. Do you have, like, what's next for your new practice, and kind of where you are in your career since it's kind of the new year? What are some goals that you have for the year?
Yeah, some of the goals are, I want to continue growing even under these extremely difficult times. I want to solidify for my team that we are indeed providing the best service to our patients. I think team building is important. When you surround yourself with people that believe in you and your mission, they start talking for you, right? So my coordinator manager has been with me for 5 years, and I don't have to tell her how to talk to a patient or what to say to that patient after I finish the consultation. So the flow and the protocol is really what I want to develop and continue to do. Another really important goal of mine is because I was renting a chair and I didn't have all the overhead that I do now, I really want to better understand how to run a business and have all of my checks and balances well understood, working closely with my accountant, and really understanding that aspect of dentistry. It's challenging, right? So we're in dental school, we don't have any lectures about that, right? Like, nobody tells you or teaches you how to run a business, because at the end of the day, what are you as a dentist? You're building a business, you're executing a procedure, and you're managing a team. So what I really want over the next year is to become really comfortable and confident with the the overall practice that I have.
Great, thank you so much. So it is 2:45. I'm gonna go ahead and launch our code for everyone to see for session 3. Dr. Rubinov, I just wanna say again, thank you so much. It's been amazing hearing from you, your branding, and also just being able to kind of meet you virtually. I think it's been great. So we've had a lot of great feedback already on this session. So thank
Awesome.
you so much for your time, for everyone joining us this session. And be sure to stick around for our happy hour later on today as well. If anyone has any questions, you can reach out to us. And yes, thank you so much again.
Yeah. And like I said, you are more than welcome. Send me an email, follow me on social, send a message. I am always open and available for anybody that's interested in learning a little bit more. So thanks a lot. I'm really proud of everybody that is here with ASDA taking advantage of all of this, because regardless of whether you're in this stage or you're not in this stage, you can always learn. So thank you guys for what you're doing, and under these crazy times, still creating and focusing on growth. So thanks a lot for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Great,
You're
thank
welcome. Bye.
All right, bye everyone. Have a good day.